I think of all the literary manuscripts I've ever worked with, the John Banville collection here in Trinity College Dublin is one of the most amazing, one of the most astonishing. For this reason, that when we watch the writer at work in these manuscripts, what we are also seeing is the questions that he's asking. In other words, the way that he writes is also what he writes about. Now, when you look at these manuscripts, here's what I mean by this. When you look at these manuscripts, what you see are very, very carefully crafted artifacts. These are not the manuscripts of somebody who has had a firework of inspiration and has to write it all down as quickly as possible. They're carefully, meticulously produced. I think, if anything, what they remind me of most are medieval manuscripts. And when I think of these manuscripts here in Trinity, it's almost like they're, the Book of Kells dark matter. What's fascinating then is what you're looking at in these manuscripts are works that are very, very carefully constructed. And it's almost as if what we see is a writer who is trying to find an order in the chaos. And that is a classic John Banville narrator. Here's this narrator talking about trying to be a biographer. What should disqualify me as a biographer? What should disqualify me as anything at all, really, is that I cannot take this benighted world at its own measure. And likewise, or more so, the people with which this world is infested. They are so little and so late. Yet I hear the wind in a crack in the casement, a sound so faint it is almost a nothing, a piping barely audible yet sharp, a tiny song such as Josephine the Most Singer herself might have sung, behind the wainscot, standing in front of her folk. And I summon up the others, all the successive others who will be here after I'm gone, and for whom the air will pipe again, perhaps, like this, of an evening in the falling light. And I say to myself that despite everything, even on such inconsiderable evidence, it cannot all be for nothing. And that's what's at stake in John Banville's writing. The sense that no matter how much order you put on the world, no matter how beautifully you write, it may all be for nothing, or it may not be. And you see that at work in the manuscripts in a way that is not possible, I think, with any other writer.